Yo peeps! So, today's video is gonna be about why Wuthering Waves will be my first gacha game and why I think should be yours too. So, let's get into it, shall we? Disclaimer: this video contains a high concentration of dumb takes and bad opinions. Viewer discretion is advised. So, the first one and the most obvious is the combat experience. I love that fast pacing combat, kinda like Devil May Cry, with the perfect dodges, perfect parries, all the dynamic feeling that you have, that you feel like you're skilled at it. So that for me is the main reason why Wuthering Waves really caught my attention, why I'm really willing to give it a fair shot. Even though I really hate the gacha monetization, I do think you gotta be willing to try everything at least once. So Wuthering Wave is really gonna be the game that I'll be trying to dip my toes into the gacha sphere and really try to see if it's all these roses and flowers that everyone say it is. They're super fun, that the patches are super constant. You almost never run out of content, at least if you're not like a content creator or a super hardcore player that plays it a shit ton. So the open world experience that really caught my eye. I know it's basically everything is just a copy of Breath of the Wild take on open world. I've already played Breath of the Wild a lot. I haven't played the new one. I did play Genshin a bit, like 7 to 8 hours ish. I haven't really tried other gacha games with this kind of open world aspect. To be honest, I haven't really tried any other gacha game at all. That being said, that open world feeling, kind of like RPG MMO ish, although it has no single MMO mechanic into it, it does really caught my attention. Was the type of games that I grew up playing. I grew up playing mostly MMOs, of course other games as well, but mostly MMOs and RPGs. So that's one of the reasons that I'm also willing to give it a fair shot. That being said, it's also a fresh AAA gacha that isn't made by Hoyo, so I'm interested to see how other companies are going to take this concept and experience that gachas and Genshin have offered throughout the, I don't know, 3 4 years that's been out, and really see how they spin it, how they sauce it up, how they spice it up. So that's a really valid reason in my eyes to really give this one a shot. After all, I most people on this planet probably already heard at least of Genshin, probably saw a bit of the gameplay of it. It really didn't caught my eyes, to be honest. It wasn't really the thing that I was expecting or wanting to play. That being said, the kind of more mature-ish vibe that the Wuthering Waves is bringing to the table really caught my eye. Even though people say that the lore is kind of shitty, it's kind of the samey shit. I'm super interested in trying it out. Besides that, of course, both my favorite baldes in content creation, Dicton and Asmon, have both approved the game. Sorry, Amy and Squeaks, I like you both too. That being said, I really take into consideration both of these guys' opinions. I do think they have great takes on gaming. Of course, no single person is right all the time. That being said, I do think that Asmon has a really nice view on gaming in general, and I have heard a lot that Tecton is the main creator of gacha and everything. And if both of them have said the game is good enough at least to try, that does heavily impact my decision on giving that game a try. I know most gacha people hate both of them. That being said, what can I do? I love both of them. I think both of them do crazy good content. So yeah, I take their opinion heavily. Besides that, the fresh world without all the bloat from old games. For example, if you try to get your friend to play World of Warcraft nowadays, they're gonna have to learn 500 different buttons, 500 different systems, 500 different maps, quests, and whatever. A shit ton of things to learn. I do feel like Genshin kind of falls into that same perspective. The game has been out for a really long time now, so there's like, so if you really want to keep up with it, to catch up with everyone that's been playing for, I don't know, 2 3 4 years or whatever, that shit is gonna take a while. And I do feel like those types of games, like gacha in general, they don't have like nothing ultra special to keep me hooked for hundreds and hundreds of hours. the lore doesn't seem in neither of those games interesting enough to keep me hooked to it, to make me want to get to current content. So that's a reason why I and I think you too should also try to play Wuthering Waves. The game will be fresh day one, no 300 hours of questing, no 5 different continents to travel, no 300 different systems. Everything will be fresh. Everyone will be learning from the same way. Everyone will be on the same playing field. Well, there's the free to plays and the whales, but that's another thing. So I do feel like that fresh day one MMO vibe, even though Wuthering Waves obviously isn't an MMO. I do feel like the day one gaming vibe is always amazing to be there, to feel it, to share all of that experience with everyone of the community, be it with streams, videos, or just with your friends on Discord, whatever. I do feel like that is a special moment. And the gacha genre has been out there for a while now, and I feel like the stars have aligned with Wuthering Waves. It's an open world game, feels AAA ish, have a great combat. The fact that the genre itself has matured enough, the game also seems to try to grasp to a more of a mature audience. I do feel like with all those factors connected, I do feel like Wuthering is a game that is at least worth a try to see if you're gonna enjoy it. Maybe you don't like the gacha monetization like me, but maybe you enjoy the combat, maybe you enjoy the challenges, maybe you even enjoy the lore. I mean, everyone says the lore is shitty, but I don't know. Go figure. Maybe you like it. I don't know. Also, although the game is surely heavily focused on combat, I do feel like most gachas are super casual friendly. I don't think Wuthering Waves will try to run away from that feel. After all, most of gacha players, the player base itself is more of a casual audience, isn't like Souls audience or MMO audience, that they are really try hard in nature. So although the game seems to have some challenges, I feel like the casual friendly aspect of it will still be heavily present there. So you don't have to be a sweat, you don't have to be spreadsheeting all the numbers, especially when the game has, at least it seems to me that the game has a really focus on gameplay, on the combat, on the fast pace, on the decision making. I do feel like the game, with all those aspects in mind, I do feel like the game will be friendly enough for a casual player, since you won't really need to learn like 500 different stats on items or try to find the perfect build. It does seem, maybe I'm wrong, maybe the devs are gonna tune the hell of the game and make it impossible, but I do really doubt it. From the previous point that we just made, most of the gacha community are casual players. So because of that, I do feel it's gonna be a casual friendly enough game with a fun and challenging enough of a combat to be a cool mix that is gonna captivate and make most people interested in trying it at least. The fact the game has a bigger skill ceiling than most of the other gachas also makes me feel, maybe that's a wrong point of view of mine, but makes me feel like the game will be more of a friendly free-to-play experience. That being said, it is a gacha game. The game is 110% focused on monetization. That is the first goal. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted, boys. But that being said, I do feel like once the game has a high skill cap, unless the devs make the enemies like bullet sponges that has a ton of HP and a bunch of one-shot mechanics, I do feel like the fact that it has a bigger skill ceiling is going to allow devoted free-to-play players to be able to conquer most of it, if not all of the content that the game will have. Now, to be honest with you guys, that's more. Now, this part of the video is going to be more about my perspective, not really the point that I think is going to make most people want to try Wuthering Wave. And it's the reasons why I didn't really click with Genshin or other gachas in the past. To be honest, I don't really know many other gachas besides Genshin and Honkai. That's the power of Hoyo, I guess. So, as I said before, I have like 6 to 8 hours in a span of like 3 days playing Genshin. I do feel like the game is heavily inspired on Breath of the Wild, and I've played that game a lot. So because of that, the game itself didn't really click with me. It was a super super duper ultra casual gameplay. It's much more about exploring and knowing the game and the lore and feeling like you live in that world than being focused about gameplay, content, being challenged on fights and things like that. So that's one of the reasons why Genshin didn't really click with me. The other point was I started playing Genshin like 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and at that point the community of course has already developed it a lot, and I don't really like how that vocal minority on social medias, Reddit, Twitter, and whatever behave, how they really gatekeep the game like is this their precious little child. They're like Gollum on Lord of the Rings. It's my precious, and I don't really like it. That just makes new players don't want to try the game. It just really brings out a negative light on the game, on the community itself. Because I know 90% of the players probably don't even interact with Twitter. They just play it on their phones, their computers, their console, or whatever. They don't really talk about it. They don't even watch videos or guides about it. They just like to play the game. So that's one of the another reason why Genshin didn't really click with me. The fact that I knew that I was getting merely involved with that community itself just didn't really click with me. It already made me kind of. Besides that, the game's already bloated as fuck. Genshin is probably the. It's probably, I mean, it is the WoW of Gacha. So at the same time that when you think Gacha, you think of Genshin, and when you think of MMOs, you think of World of Warcraft. Both of them suffer from very similar issues. For example, Genshin now is bloated as fuck. It has like hundreds and hundreds of hours of content. I myself, as a new player, don't really want to go through all of that to catch up with recent players. I know that's the point of the game. That being said, I don't feel like the gameplay, neither the lore or the content or the exploration itself, made up enough to make me feel like that was enough putting in those hours. I know a lot of people love it, a lot of people have emotion connections with it, with the characters, with the world, with the lore, whatever. It didn't really click with me. I'm a new player. That shit won't go through. I'm sorry. Besides that, to be honest, just a little tiny whiny problem. I don't really like the PG game for everyone, family friendly vibe that Genshin has. Don't get me wrong, Nintendo's there to prove that family friendly games are here forever and they're always gonna have a space in the gaming industry. That being said, it really isn't for me. I really like a game that has more nuances, that has murderers, that has crazy plot twists, that's I don't know, there just has more space for the devs, the writers, and everyone to create more deep, meaningful, and badass shit. Like Genshin is so constrained on the way that their community and the way that the game has projected itself to be that it just can't captivate enough to me. It's always gonna be that same flowery, cute, childish thing, and I'm not really into it. I'm sorry. That being said, boys, I do feel like that's probably the end of this video. If you guys liked it, I mean, it's just some trash opinions and some ranting on my part, so I'm sorry if the video is trash. That being said, if you guys liked it, if you guys want to watch more things that I make, I'm not only going to be making videos on Gacha. So if you guys want to keep up with my dumb, horrible takes about gaming in general and etc., please leave a like, follow the channel, follow my Twitch, because I'm going to be streaming a lot of shit there, like random games, doing some reacts, talk about some shit. If you guys didn't like the video or like the video or just want to hang out and talk a bit, show up there. I'm going to be streaming there at least 4 hours a day, all night, 4 hours a day, every night. So if you guys want to keep up, show up, hang out, just show there. Okay? Peace.